Well, let's get started. Let me introduce myself. I'm Erin Morgan, and I teach second grade, and I've done that just about all of my life. I think I actually am in my 30-something year. It's irrelevant, but I am committed to the program and love working with my teammates. It's a great time.
Hi, I'm Lily Overmyer-Wilkinson. The kids call me Mrs. O. This is my first year teaching at the Key School, and it's been really nice to be welcomed by the community and get to know my class in person. It's been, a bumpy road with COVID, but I think the school is doing a really great job of including everyone and keeping everyone safe. So it's been a really nice start to my first year at Key, all the crazy things aside, but we've still been able to get a lot of projects done, and we got to connect with children virtually. And it's just been a really good but interesting year. I've had a great time adjusting to my new community and getting to know my class.
And we're so happy to have Lily with us. I'm Kat Parker Briggs. You may have seen me initially there as Catherine Briggs, but I've been teaching here for over 30 years also, and they know me here as Kat Parker. I had 3 kids go through the whole school, and now they're out and about in the world. But it's been such a wonderful journey. Erin and I have been a team for, as she said, over 30 years, and it's been just a delight. So we're thrilled to have Lily on board now, and we'll just let people in as they come, but we're going to just go ahead and give you a glimpse of second grade, just an overview. So welcome. We're happy that you're here with us.
And I'll keep an eye on the weight room if anyone else moves over.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, so second grade is a wonderful year, a journey of discovery.
Oh, sorry, let me present the whole screen.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, so here we go. We blast off from first grade, a lot of developmental changes as the kids move from wanting to just be more egocentric to really looking and reaching out into their world. They're asking lots of questions, which we really encourage, and digging deeper, expanding their critical thinking and deepening their understanding of the world. We love to say that second graders are ready to explore their place everywhere in the universe, in time, space, history, and the world. And we'll give you a peek into what that means. As Matthew said, and Kristen as well, the whole school and second grade in particular engage in integrated, multidisciplinary, hands-on experiential learning. And you can see it happening here in a number of different situations with math and other areas. Everything about Key School at all levels, as he said, is hands-on learning throughout the curriculum. We have fun. Kids work together, they collaborate, they learn how to problem solve. We have a lot of strategies and routines and tools in place. Don't worry, this journey toward independence is a real collaborative experience too. It takes a village. So we work with you and the kids and the other teachers. Here's some ways that we do that, just a quick peek. So a big focus of second grade is moving the kids toward independence, and they become so much more successful then when they really own it and can do things for themselves. So we help them develop independent routines, responsibility. We help them to get better organized. And believe me, we have lots and lots of tools within the classroom and to help you guys at home to make this happen. So second graders discover effective cooperative skills and explore independent problem-solving strategies with their peers. And we're going to move into a glimpse of what we're doing right now. I heard Kristen mention Marco Polo. So Erin's going to take it from here and show you some of the really amazing ways that the kids are learning.
Hi, everyone. I am challenged to present really the richness of our language arts program in the limited amount of time. So forgive me if I talk too quickly, and please, I do hope that you ask questions. To begin with, we take the approach of integrating language arts with social studies. We know that for kids to really learn, to really gain understanding, that's built upon layers or even pillars, if you will, of experiences: the knowledge, the content, the skills. So language arts is heavily rooted in traditional skills. Reading is foremost, and we present that through a phonics program that is systematic and consistent, and that has been our basis from the inception of the school. Part of that, of course, is learning syllabication. You have to be able to decode unfamiliar multi-syllable words. No guessing allowed, because we know exactly how to attack unfamiliar words and successfully read them. I always say we can figure out what the word means, but the first thing we're going to do is actually take it apart and decode it. So that's a huge component. Of course, with reading, the flip side is the comprehension. And that's equally emphasized in our program. And then finally, the written expression. So how do we get all of these things in? Well, we have found through the years that kids have to be excited. And what better way to kick off our year than talking about explorers? Going back to what Kat said a few moments ago, with regard to second graders figuring out their place in the world and in time and space. Basically, we start with, how did we get here? We live on the continent of North America. A lot of stuff has happened in the world, but we begin with the Vikings. We acknowledge that they had settlements in North America prior to any of the later Europeans that came. We examine the fact that there may have been Africans who made it across the Atlantic Ocean. We also go into Zheng, who was the great Chinese explorer, the fabulous treasure ships that the Chinese built and used to explore really before the Europeans ever even thought twice about that kind of engineering. But that brings us to Marco Polo, which is really where we find ourselves right now. Again, when you consider all the skills that I mentioned and you're considering the content, well, how do you connect those things? Essential questions are our driving force with the program. We start, for instance, with Marco Polo with, where was Marco Polo born? That takes us into learning about Venice. And despite the limitations that the COVID experience has put on us, I just want to say, my goodness, kids are still able, while maybe not doing it in a larger group. There's a little gondola. I just want to share the Rialto Bridge. So our experiential component is alive and well, tailored a little differently, but nonetheless, it is the glue that makes all of the content and the skills really stick. Let's see, Marco Polo. Well, as I mentioned earlier, the written component of the program is huge. We actually teach the writing process and have 3 to 5 really large writing projects throughout the year. But I do want to say that the children are writing every day, all day. They're writing in their science journals, they're writing in their math logs, they're writing stories that are creative. They're journaling with feelings. They are just engaged throughout the day in the writing process. One of the things that, as we know, is so important to cap their learning is that performance component. This is a pre-COVID slide, but the collaborative, hands-on experiential work is really a mainstay of our fall in grade 2, making murals, creating spice racks. But again, I'm very delighted to be able to say we're not getting close to one another to create a mural, but we are mapping, creating. It is amazing and very satisfying to have that integration of social studies with the language arts curriculum. Geography has to be understood in order for the travels of these explorers to make any sense. And the last thing that I just have to get in there is that global perspective is highly important. We talk about Marco Polo in depth, his adventures, all of the people that he met, but ultimately, what's important about Marco Polo? Why does anybody care? And that's when the children begin to realize that he connected the East to the West in terms of cultural exchange. And that continues, of course, to this day. But those are really, in a nutshell, the essential components of our program in terms of the first trimester. And I think Kat is going to take over for the more middle of the year and then the end.
I'll just say briefly, quickly, that we do move into colonial America and how we got here. That set the stage. And then we move toward westward expansion. So you can see we've got lots of texts that we use and original sources as well, which blows the kids away when they see Marco Polo's real book. So Lily's going to tell us about math. I'm going to let you take it.
Hi, everyone. So for math, we really like the students to get a very strong understanding of what a number really is, that it has a value, and we use a lot of hands-on projects. We still do project learning. It just looks a little different. We'll send students virtually home with their project needs, and then in class, we all have our own set of project tools, but we're just very hands-on everything we do. And for problem solving, again, we like to teach students different methods to solve problems. There's not just one way to get to an answer. And again, we use a lot of projects to help them understand this. So kind of like what I just said, we have a lot of collaborative learning. We use hands-on things. We integrate the iPad a lot this year, especially. We also use their math log to take down big concepts so they can have that the whole year to go back to with all their foundations. We like to do a lot of experimental learning. We like the students to try it out on their own and find their own way to an answer. We have different games that we like to have them connected in. And this year, of course, we have virtual learning, but we're still staying connected. Like Erin said, we're still doing these projects. We just reimagine them, and it's just as fun for the kids and for us. So we really want the students to really grasp spatial reasoning, logic and deduction in multi-digit computation and algebraic thinking. We teach them different methods so that they can answer problems.
Okay, so you heard an overview. I kind of shortchanged the second and third parts of our class year. But as Makiba said at the very end, everything is so integrated. And if you go back and look at the links that you're going to be sent, you'll get a lot more input and a chance to see the music and French, the art, library, PE, Maker Tech, you saw coding. We do read stories aloud, share them with the children, and watch their vocabulary grow. We do handwriting, initially Danielian printing, which was started here in first grade, but it merges beautifully into cursive writing. And hopefully we'll be able to reinstitute the morning exercise. But even with COVID, we're doing a lot of movement in the classroom. We get up, we dance, we take body breaks because it's hard. And even when we're virtual learning, we do that as well with the kids leading the exercises. So I'm gonna hopefully show you a little bit of our schedule. Here we go. Now this is pre-COVID schedule in my class. So we have a morning meeting, which we do virtually right now and in the classroom, including our gateway kids. Then we move into the language arts social studies area. French ideally would be 4 days a week, 20 minutes at a time. And then the flip side of that is when we're doing our read aloud story. PE is twice a week, as you'll see on my schedule, once in the morning and once in the afternoon on another day. Most of our specials tend to be in the afternoon because the kids seem so much more able to really learn and take in the language arts, the reading, the writing, and the math in the earlier part of the day. So that's in first grade and second grade, that all happens before lunchtime. So you'll see we have music 4 days a week, ideally. And right now, even with COVID, we're having the musicians, the music teachers working with the kids, even with instruments. It's been phenomenal what they do. They've got rolling carts and they take them with them. Handwriting, as I said, will move into cursive, and we have science integrated a lot, but then we have separate times with the science teacher. Our assemblies, if we didn't have COVID, would be all together with the entire lower school. Sometimes the kids perform, and we also have wonderful outside people come in all different areas. So that's what a schedule looks like. And even with COVID, we're doing all of the things we did before. We just don't have quite as much time for the specials themselves. Thank you so much for joining us today. I believe that's it, and we'd like to open it up for questions from you. So please feel free to either ask them now or contact us later.
There you
I have
go.
a question. What does it look like right now? Are you guys totally virtual right now, online, or is it hybrid, or how is it? What is your classroom
That's a good question. We started not knowing which way we were going to go, and we were hybrid until October 26th. And then we went full on in 5 days a week. And we've got plexiglass around each child's desk, and the desks are separated. The school has gone to enormous lengths to make it really safe. We have a special, very high quality air filter thing and lights that also help. And I can't give you the scientific terminology, but they get rid of the germs. They help us avoid the virus. We've got stations with the hand sanitizer. We say squirt many times a day, and people come by throughout the day, people who have been added to the staff, the maintenance staff, who walk around and continually clean all doorknobs and bathrooms and even recess equipment. So we're able to give the kids a phenomenal experience. Now we are going virtual, I must say, this Wednesday, at least through Thanksgiving, because a lot of people
ask? The new Hogan instituted new rules, but for the most part, at what point do you all have to start following like the governor's, like the reason I'm trying to get my kid in with you guys, we've been trying to get Ava in with you guys for a couple of years now, and there was some family nonsense for a little while, but anyway, we're trying to get her back in primarily because she's sick of the distance learning, and she's always called Key School her school, like, Mom, that's my school, I'm going there someday. I'm like, all right, well, but primarily she just wants to get back into the classroom. At what point do you guys have to do what what everybody else is doing, basically what the public school system is doing, or is it always up to you?
Well, actually, that's an interesting question. It's not just up to us. Matthew and the board had to work very closely with Governor Hogan. We had to get permission and show them the extraordinary lengths the school is going to be safe. And it's only because of that that we were allowed to open and consider being 5 days. But right now, since the numbers are going up and anticipating a lot of people traveling, we're going back to the safe zone. So November 30th, we'll find out whether or not we're going to stay virtual or go hybrid, or how we're going to transition. And then after the winter holiday, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, then again, we'll probably have at least a week of virtual just until everybody's been through the safe quarantine time. And then we'll see. We'll see. I mean, our hope is that we can be here with the kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, and I would say the week after Thanksgiving, we knew that the county was going to require at least 1 week for all independent schools to allow any of the germs sort of to play out from the Thanksgiving week. So we knew that in terms of when we have to follow, when the state does a shelter in place and the county closes non-essential businesses, with the exception, obviously, pharmacies and those type of places will stay open. We would find ourselves having to go fully virtual again, like we did last March. But as Kat mentioned, we were one of, a good handful of schools in the county that presented proposals in August that were approved. So while public schools were closed, we were able to operate. And we've had a 1.06 infection rate. I think we've had one person test positive out of, and we've been on campus since the end of August. And as Kat mentioned, the lower school grades 1 through 4 have been in full 5 days a week since the 26th. Our youngest students, Kiwi through kindergarten, came a week earlier, so on October 19th. So they've gotten a full month in of being here every day. And we haven't had outbreaks or spread, but we recognize after Hogan's press conference this week and the county officials communicating with independent schools that we're probably getting to the infection rate locally where they're gonna, even though we're not adding to community spread based on what we know in our infection rate, they're gonna end up closing places down. So we're doing a phase out. My son's in 2nd grade, actually, so I've got to see what this looks like this year. He is going to be in school Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday we start back at distance learning for the whole lower school. The little ones in first school will be here through next Friday, and then after Thanksgiving, like we said, there's a full week that we knew we had to be out, and I think it's December 7th is sort of the date we're shooting for and hoping that the metrics and the numbers in the area go down so that we can go back to what we've been doing the last few months. So, but we've gotten a lot of good school days in so far, and fingers crossed that December 7th, we can get right back to it.
I can only say that as a senior member of the community, I feel incredibly safe. The precautions that the school has taken, but I am sometimes asked, as a teacher, how do you feel? I'm not at all. I feel like I'm in probably one of the safer environments. So
absolutely. The school, I mean,
it's a great feeling.
It's in this little own pocket, like a little, little cocoon kind of thing. And it just, I don't know. I always feel, I love going out there. I feel very safe. I'm in Crofton area myself, but yeah, it seems fantastic. And it's just secure and fantastic environment. If nobody else has another question, I have another question.
My only question is curious of how many spots do you know you're going to have for next year, if you would know it all right now?
Yeah, it's good question. So I don't know if you can see me. I spotlighted the teachers, but so I'm Tom. I'm director of enrollment. Going into 2nd grade, I actually had a list of all of our grades. We typically have 3 to 6 spots going into first, 2 to 6 into second, 3 to 6 into third, and then 5 to 8 going into fourth. This is a particularly big first grade. And so that's where we're not going to know until this January. We send out our re-enrollment contracts in January, and our admission decisions are really, we try to get those out by February 20th or around that date. We're an Ames school, so we do follow the universal dates that Ames has us working off of. So there's a small window between when our re-enrollment contracts come back and when we make decisions. And it's an important window for us because there's a big difference between accepting 1 or 2 children versus 6 in these applicant pools. The good news is grades 1 through 4 are not a major point of entry. So you're not talking about having 50 applicants for one spot. It's not not quite like that. We normally have 15 to 18 applicants that complete the full process by grade in this division. But like I said, we're usually looking for, 3 to 6 students every year into each of these grades. But this happens to be a particularly big first grade. Part of my job is to manage expectations. I'd rather people be pleasantly surprised later than for me to mismanage up front. But of the grades next year, that's going to be, again, it depends, a little bit tighter, but again, we're hoping to be able to still admit an average number of students. We love having new people come to Key. And I know our students really love seeing new students. This week alone, some of our students we call it Gateway, if you chose to stay home or have your children not on campus this year. And my son is in Mrs. O's class, was so excited for one of his classmates that he has only seen via Zoom join the class earlier last week. And just the kids get so excited. So we really know that it's healthy for our community to always be bringing new students in. COVID created a bit of a challenge for us. At the end of the summer, we knew we couldn't admit new students based on pod sizes. And then this year, it's heartbreaking the number of calls I get every day for families that want to make a change right now because, it will be 18 months. If students join us next fall, it will be 18 months since the last time they had typical school, if they're in the public school system. And that's just heartbreaking. We love children. We work in education for a reason. And it's tough, but we are the 3 teachers that you see on your screen, we care about as much as our kids, and we, to protect them, have stopped enrolling and kept those pods small. And we'll be in touch. Me and Makiba Barnes will know right around February 1st is when re-enrollment contracts are due back. So that's when our conversations with families that have completed the admission process will start to have more data points that will help us be able to better give families a sense of whether or not we'll have the space going into any of these grades. Sorry for the long-winded answer, but I wanted to give you a sense of typical, and then also obviously COVID creates more challenges. Like we're anticipating all of our families, actually we're anticipating less attrition this year, which it seems counterculture or counterintuitive because of maybe the economics of a pandemic and what that means for independent schools. But we're seeing little K through 8s that were grossly under enrolled in the area have wait lists now, and Key School's always been fully enrolled. So I'm anticipating some of our families that might have moved out of state not moving. So we'll just have to wait and see. And we'll certainly work with every family one-on-one and give you all the details we have at that time.
Tom, how many classrooms are there for second grade or for all of the lower school division? There's 3.
So there's usually 2. This year we split them into pods we split it up 1 extra pod. So that's why you heard Ellie Young and Catherine Hudson, who are typically our math coordinator and our reading and language arts reading specialist, took over homerooms so that we could spread into smaller groups. Gotcha. But second grade, it's interesting. Second grade could be a grade where we continue to have a 3rd section next year, just based on the number of students. And we have these 3 amazing teachers, so that all that stuff is going to play out again, January and February, when re-enrollment contracts come back. And we know what that looks like. And that's, again, that would the decision to stay in 3 sections for second grade would obviously impact our, whether we can take 2 or 6 new students, right? So that's also another factor in regard to anticipating the size of the incoming group for second grade next year. But the other grades are typical size, and moving into 3rd and 4th, those I would imagine, and I'm not speaking for the division head, but I would imagine unless we still have to be in pods because of COVID next year, which seems unlikely at this point, we'd go back to 2 sections of 17 or 18. So.
What is the process like? This, I think 2 years ago, we did the open house, and then you apply, and then you're invited in for evaluation. I'm assuming that evaluation is not happening this year. Or
yeah, we can't do anything in person. So our assessments this year will be done via Zoom. So we were we got practice last spring and summer. So Makiba Barnes, my colleague who's responsible for lower school admission, she would actually either hand deliver or mail, certified mail, some subsets of some of our tests that we would do in person typically. The family would open it at the time that the Zoom started. The child would, on Zoom, complete the assessment, and the parent would repackage it and mail it back to us. Just in case it got lost in the mail, what we had the parents do was scan it. For those who had scanners, some people took pictures of it so that we immediately got the results so that we could start scoring it. But also just in case it got lost in the mail, we didn't have to have the child do it all over again. So that's the process we did over the summer. And I believe that's what it will look like this year. And again, we've really trimmed down the amount of testing we're asking because it's not in person. So it's not going to be hours and hours of testing. We used to do that usually on Saturdays. Now it's going to be, smaller reading and writing assessments. We're working with the division and with Catherine and Ellie to come up with ways to assess students more quickly over knowing that we're going to have to use Zoom as a way to administer the test. So that will still be part of it. We'll still need a teacher reference. The application for many families, if you're rolling your application over, you don't necessarily have to redo all of the questions and answers. That's still in there from last year. And again, we waive the application fee for anyone that's reapplying. So if you haven't hit submit yet, use the waiver code rollover. Everyone who's not rolling over, cover your ears when I say that. And that will get you through past the application fee. Capital R. Yep. Any other questions? I know I was supposed to get the teachers out of here 8 minutes ago. That's why they put me in here to make sure that we got them. That makes sure. Yep.
Given that so many of us the kids are at home right now, I feel like my kid just keeps falling a little bit further back. Is there anything else we can do to help, like at home, apart from like getting them to read every day and making my daughter do, math books every day and this kind of thing? Is there anything that we can do at home extra to like help them push and get ready just in case they get accepted to Key next year? You know what I mean? Just to prepare them for.
I can let the teachers answer that question. I have a thing about this being a several year process for bridging the gap. The students that will be 18 months since they had normal school. Right. That's not something that schools are going to be able to fix in a month. And that's where I think Key School's value proposition is still strong. It's just different when families are thinking about what school are we going to want to partner with when we try to get our child back to where they should be in a humane way. You can't try to do it overnight because it won't work if you do it that way. But what school has the ratio of students to faculty where they can work with the children and meet them where they are and help them get back up to speed, so that it's not a long-term, this generation of kids, especially this age group, 18 months of not your typical schooling, that's a big deal. That's like 4 years of a disruption for a 7th grader. And so we recognize that as a school, our own kids, depending on how long we have to do distance learning for, our own kids. I know Lily and I talked about this with my own son last week. He may just be turning 2nd grade right now because he was doing virtual learning at the end of 1st grade. So we're going to also change our expectations and give the kids what they need to get them to where they're supposed to be. So I'm saying that from my standpoint, but the advice that you're asking for, I'll let the teachers give you.
Okay. I was just going to say, while it may seem to be a rather obvious answer, I think that it is critical. And that is that children learn to write well when they hear good literature. Reading aloud to your child is a tremendous gift. And I think that I can speak for all of us when I say that is something that often gets lost in the shuffle of daily life. We all know the pressures that we're all under, but in terms of hearing the language, expanding vocabulary, sentence structure, comprehension, discussion points, it's all there. Yep. And the basis of, the classic and the not so classic. It doesn't really matter. But I would say finding that time, it allows them to read, to hear up. You know, a child should be reading a little bit down on their, in terms of level, especially
Like
at
a
the end of
reading
the
call
day,
to
they're
wow.
tired. But no, you know, there's no end to what good stories could be read to them.
And I'd add to that, there's so many wonderful math games and things that you can do. And on YouTube now, they've got so many wonderful things for parents specifically, since so many kids are home with COVID. They've got maker tech things, they've got science activities. There are just so many things out there that you can tap into. But the more you do the things with your children and talk to them when you watch something together or when you read a book, asking them, you know, questions about that, that really builds the comprehension as well. Before we go, I wanted to be sure to thank Lily. Lily has been our tech queen throughout all of this. We're in different places and she's really helped to make it flow and to make it happen. So way to go, girl. We're so glad you're on our team.
I want to
We
thank all you guys.
make
for coming.
Great team.
Thank you so much,
Thank
faculty.
you. Hi,
Thank you so much. And families, feel free to reach out to me or Makiba anytime. We are going to be sort of blitzing you guys with follow-up emails after what we consider the outreach season. We start to send the follow-up emails, links, the recording for this, the recording for the webinar itself, all of the videos from our specialists that you haven't heard from yet. So keep an eye out for that. Certainly the applications should start coming in before winter break. And I'm always telling families applying early this year is helpful because we have to do individual testing. It's not done in groups in the winter like we used to do in January on a Saturday. So just for Makiba's sake, I guess I'm asking, it's helpful for her to know who's applying so she can start scheduling those tests now so that we can spread it out instead of doing it all in January, which will be challenging for the kids too. So thank you again and enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. And we look forward to working with you through the admission season.